For the test, you guys are going to have to recognize that 4 of the main different systems that the Earth uses are going to be the geosphere, the atmosphere, the hydrosphere, and the biosphere. So I'm going to take a little bit of time and go through what those 4 are. You're not going to need to know them much more deeply than what we explained here. In the last video, we talked about open systems versus closed systems, and the idea being that energy in an open system can travel into the system and travel out of the system, and in a closed system, the energy within that system stays within that system. We're going to start by talking, we're not going to go necessarily in order here. We're going to start by talking about the hydrosphere and the biosphere. The hydrosphere is, like in the last video, we were talking about the water cycle. The water cycle is going to be how water moves or is cycled throughout our planet. Obviously, we know that a lot of it is contained within the lakes, rivers, streams, and oceans. In the liquid form, that liquid has the ability to evaporate into the sky. It has the ability to condense and precipitate in the form of rain or snow, and that water continues to cycle in that fashion. And that water cycle is going to be called the hydrosphere. The biosphere is going to be the region of the Earth where life is going to exist. So generally speaking, it's going to be from the ground up to within the next 100 feet or so. Basically, where plant and animal life are going to thrive. The other 2 systems that we're going to be talking about are going to be the geosphere and the atmosphere. Both of these we're going to get into a little bit today. The geosphere is going to pertain to the rock that is the Earth, and we're going to talk a little bit about why that rock is located the way that it is, where it's located, and how it moves. That becomes a focus of this video series. And then we're also going to talk about the atmosphere. Now, when we think about the atmosphere, we generally think about the oxygen and carbon dioxide that we breathe in and out. But in reality, the atmosphere consists of all of the gases that we breathe in and we breathe out. And actually, the majority of the gas that we breathe in and breathe out is not oxygen or carbon dioxide. Going back to the geosphere is going to be mainly consisting of the crust of the Earth, specifically the very, very, very top layer and the plants and animals that live on it. But we're going to also take some time to dive into what's underneath the geosphere as well. And underneath the geosphere, we know that the Earth is made up of the crust, the mantle, and the core. And we're going to begin to look at, you probably already know that the crust is on top, the core is in the very middle, and the mantle is that layer that is in between those 2. But why is it that our Earth is segregated into these 3 distinct layers? And we're going to take a look at the why to that. But in order to answer the why to that, we actually have to go back and think about the way that the atmosphere is going to be put together. We mentioned before that the atmosphere is one of the 4 cycles. The atmosphere is going to actually be 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and 1% everything else, which is crazy. So of all of the air that you breathe in, only about 1/5 of it, 20% roughly, is oxygen. And of all of the carbon dioxide that you breathe out, that makes up a very small percentage as well. Now, I want you to think about, here's a snippet of the periodic table, and we have nitrogen here, and we have oxygen here. And these 2 elements make up the majority of the atmosphere. And helium is going to be right here. Why is it that helium balloons float? A big part of it has to do with the idea that helium is going to be a lighter atom than nitrogen and oxygen. And that's actually going to help us explain